Hello everyone and welcome to the BizMums Success Series. My name is Stacey Knight-Jones and I am one of the regional coordinators for BizMums, and it gives me great pleasure to bring to you today our very first interview, and it's with none other than the founder of BizMums, Michelle Childs. Hello Michelle.
Hello.
Hello, good to have you here today.
Oh, it's amazing. It's great to speak to you. Not that we don't speak every day anyway, but
no, it's like official, isn't it? Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your story.
Okay, so if I go back, I'll try and keep it as brief as possible, but I think it's quite good just to give an overview of sort of where I've come from and how we've got to where we are today. So back in 2009, I was working as an account manager in sales and marketing for a local company. And I became pregnant with Harrison, my little boy, who's nearly 7. He's actually 7 next week. It's exciting. It's my birthday. And I had every intention to go back to my full-time job. I was going to go back to work after 20 weeks. I was career focused. I had my Audi A3, which I loved. I was zipping off. My territory that I covered was the Southwest, so I was away 2 or 3 nights every other week, and I loved it. I had no intention that was going to change. I was having a baby. It was all right. That, you know, it would all fit. Situations happen as they do. They come into our lives. I truly believe this, to kind of steer us in certain directions. And when I was 8 months pregnant, I think I must have been, the company went through a massive restructure. It was 2009. The company I worked for sold predominantly to estate agents. And if anyone remembers, in 2009, there weren't many houses being sold. So the estate agents weren't spending any money, and that had a massive knock-on effect with our company, and they made 70 people redundant. And my role, I was offered a different role within the company, but it would mean I would lose my car. I was going to be office-based. I wasn't on any commission anymore, and it wasn't the role that I was doing before. And when I worked it out, actually, with putting Harrison to full-time childcare, having to buy a new car and all the rest of it, when I went back to work after my maternity leave, I would be earning £200 a month. Wow. So to me, it was a no-brainer to take them with the redundancy. I took voluntary redundancy. Thought, that's great, it will mean that I can extend my maternity leave, because that gives us a nice little pot of money, and I'll find a job after 9 months, no problem. But what happened was, it was 2009, it was the recession, there were no jobs. I was trying to go back into a nice cushy account management role local to me. There was nothing. I live in Shropshire, which is very quite rural. It would have meant an hour's commute at least, and all the roles were telesales roles. And when I did a couple of phone interviews, and they were talking to me about how do I deal with gatekeepers and things like this, and I was like, I don't even know what a gatekeeper was. You know, I was working in a sales role where I was ringing up people, and we had, like, I knew all about their families. We had, you know, it was, oh, Michelle's on the phone, and that was that. You know, it wasn't anything. You know, so I didn't want to go into that hard sort of sales environment. So it got to Christmas, and things were getting a bit tricky for us financially, and I needed to look for something. So I ended up getting a Christmas temp role with a retail company. When I applied for the job, Tim actually laughed and was like, what are you doing? So I thought, well, it's just going to get us through Christmas. The hours were Saturdays and Sundays, so I could work and Tim could look after Harrison, so it fitted in lovely. So when I started working there, I had no intention of staying there after Christmas, but I really enjoyed the role, actually. There was a lot more involved with retail than I had given it credit for. So I got on really well. They quickly spotted that I had a little bit about me. So I was given like a customer service role where I'd stand in the shop and sell the offer of the week at Christmas, which I loved because that was taking all my sales stuff, and I was like smashing those targets. And I got kept on after Christmas, and then quickly got put into an assistant management role and got onto the management program. So that was great. Do you like my Darth Vader mug? It's Tim's, I've pinched it. So I got into the management role, and it was great because of the hours that the store worked. I was able to work. We were open till 8 o'clock at night, so I worked evenings and every weekend. After 2 years though of working every weekend and every evening, it became a bit of a strain on our family. You know, I had no social life. I worked Friday nights, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, Thursday afternoons. So it was hard, but it just meant that it fitted. I was able to spend Monday to Wednesday all day with Harrison, Thursday mornings with Harrison, and that was lovely. We did play groups and all the rest of it. And that was the other thing as well, I forgot to say earlier, you know, when I had him, my life totally changed. I didn't want to go back. I wouldn't have wanted to go back to that job if I'd have thought I was only going to have 20 weeks on my maternity leave and go back to that job. If that hadn't have happened, I would have been devastated. I wouldn't have wanted to do that then. You know, I just wanted to be with him, and I wanted a job that would fit around my family. But the compromise I had to make was that the income that we had was rubbish. Anyone who knows working in retail, it's just barely above minimum wage. But I was prepared to make that compromise because to me at that time, spending time with Harrison was more important than the money. But it just meant that, you know, we couldn't buy our house and we were driving around in, you know, a little crappy Fiesta. That's what I did. I kind of had a glass ceiling put on my life, which I didn't even realise at the time. But then I was introduced to a network marketing opportunity, and it just totally opened up my eyes to the possibilities that were out there. It got me back into personal development, because when I was in my sales role, that was one part of my sales role that I absolutely loved. I was kind of the lead in all of that. When we had our sales meetings, I was the person that would talk about the personal development side of things. My manager, he was ace. He introduced me to Tony Robbins. We went to the Tony Robbins 3-day seminar and Excel in London and all the rest of it, and I loved that, but I'd totally forgotten about it, totally lost it in the whole baby brain thing. So the network marketing opened up my eyes back to that. It opened up my eyes to the possibility that, hang on a minute, I could work from home for myself, around my family, and earn a good income, like a more amazing income than I could ever dream of. And for one reason or another, that opportunity didn't work out for me. I'm just going to move this screen because that sun's getting anyway. So that didn't work out for me. But what happened was it opened up my eyes to opportunities. It got my head back in that place. I learned about coaching, which was something I'd never really come across before. And again, serendipity. My role within the company I was working for, they changed the way that they were training their managers. So rather than a dictatorish style of management, which is like telling people what to do, they were training us in how to coach and how to coach the staff and have lovely conversations with them and get involved in their life and setting them goals and all the rest of it, which I absolutely loved. And that was the one part of my role I really, really did enjoy. And I was able then to do my coaching diploma through the company I worked for. So I did all that. So that was amazing. The trouble though with the role was, you know, we were really up against it. We were expected to do so much and to do all this coaching, but there wasn't the time or the resources to do it. So I was really frustrated in this role, really unhappy. And when I became pregnant with Isabella, I made the decision that I wasn't going to go back to that job after my maternity leave, and I was going to set up a business while I was on maternity leave. Something around coaching, personal development, that was my passions. I wasn't really clear on what it was going to be, but I just knew that I needed to do something and that I wasn't going to go back to that job. So I started to take little steps, and I'd started to do networking with the network marketing company that I was part of. So I'd started to do some networking, so I was already in that environment, and I absolutely loved networking. So I knew that that was going to be a good way for me to get out and meet new people when I'd had the baby, when I was on maternity leave. But then quickly realised, I'm going to have a baby that I'm going to have to take with me to these places. That's not going to really work. So I put a few posts out on Facebook and said, does anybody know of any networking that you can attend with, you know, with a baby or with children? Because at that time I still had Harrison. He hadn't started school yet. So he was still off with me on a Wednesday and a Friday. I think he went 3 days a week to nursery. So he was still at home as well. So I looked for opportunities, couldn't find anything out there. Lots of mums local to me came back and said, when you find this thing, whatever it is going to be, can you let us know, because we'd really like to come too. So I thought, oh, well, I'll set one up myself.
Yeah.
and that's what happened. BizMums was born. I started with 3 groups in Shrewsbury, Telford and Wrexham. Through the power of social media, Facebook, Twitter, I started to connect with lots of other mums in similar situations to myself who really resonated with my story and resonated with the support that BizMums was able to offer in this community. Met the lovely Stacey, and Stacey was one of the first mums and there were several others as well who said, you know, I don't live near you to get to your meetings, but I would love to have one near me. Can I set one up? Can you help me set one up? So we did. By the September, I think we launched maybe another 5 or 6. We had Chester, Ellesmere Stone, Codsall, and we started to grow. And it was just phenomenal. All these mums really recognise this support.
Sorry, Phoebe in the background.
Exactly. So now, fast forward, we are just under 3.5 years in now, and we have 80 groups all over the UK, supporting hundreds and hundreds of mums every month, not just physical events as well, but online, a lot of support online as well. And growing the support that we offer to offer training and all sorts of different things like that as well. So that's my story. Here I am.
Well, you've certainly changed my life, and opened my eyes to my personal possibilities as well, and opened so many doors for me. And I know you do on a national scale to hundreds of women up and down the country. But what would you say has been your biggest achievement in your business so far?
Okay, well, I mentioned before that I was networking before I started up BizMums, and one of the networks that I was part of was called Free to Network. And I was actually a host for Free to Network and set up a group because similar, Nina had started up in North Wales, and I'd recognised that we could do something similar near to me, which is in Shropshire. So I was a host for one of Nina's first hosts, and my lovely friend Sue Miller was a host as well. And it was 2012, and Nina runs a award ceremony every year. And Sue and I were there, and I was putting on the chair covers, and I was helping out, and then I was when people were arriving, I was handing their drinks and welcoming them. And I sat there that night, and I just thought, wow, how awesome would it be to actually, at this point I didn't even have a business, so how awesome would it be to be nominated, even to have a business that would be worth being nominated for, never mind win, that wasn't even, you know, out there. Fast forward 3 years later, and this year, the 2015 Free to Network Awards, I won the Enterprise Award, which was judged by Margaret Carter, who is an amazing woman. She has a company called Patchwork Pâtés. You might have heard of them. They sell in all delis all over across I think they're sort of global company. And she judged it. So to be recognised by someone like that, but to go to that awards where 3 years ago I didn't even have a business, and to feel comfortable in my own skin that I deserved to even be there and be nominated was amazing. Because I think it was 2 years previous that I was nominated again, and I went, and I just felt so out of my depth. I just didn't feel like I should be there. It was quite weird. But this time I felt like, yeah, I'm in my place. This is cool. And then when I won, can I just look? I've got it here. And the Rachel Elner is the award. It's the Rachel Elner Enterprise Award, and Rachel Elner was one of the dragons on Dragon's Den. She set up Red Letter Days.
Wow.
Her category that she'd set up as well. So that was really cool to be affiliated with someone like that as well. So I have that in pride of place in my bookshelf.
Wow. So literally in 3 years you went from putting the seat covers on and handing out the drinks to literally being up on stage as the winner of this award. How amazing. Wow. Super inspiring. So it might seem like a bit of a daft question because of the business that you're in, but a lot of people, a lot of mums would see having children as being a bit of a barrier to business, that I can't do this with the children about. How has being a mum helped you in your business?
Well, obviously being a mum has helped me in my business, because without my children, BizMums wouldn't exist. So that's helped. But in day-to-day life, and just because business isn't the only business I run the Ellesmere Gazette, which is a community magazine in my town. I've got a couple of different sort of online affiliate marketing companies as well that I run. So I've got lots of different things going on. So for me, they motivate me. They're my reason to want to be successful. When I'm having a bit of a bad day, and we all do, and something knocks my confidence or things aren't going quite right, I just have to look at them and think, I've got to keep going. because that's what I'm doing it for. It's for them and for their future, and to be able to give them the lifestyle that I want for them, and also to role model for them as well. I think, you know, I've got 2 young girls, and it's important for them to see that you can work hard and you can come from literally nothing and have a successful life, and you can do it yourself. And to, yeah. And you can train yourself as well to be, you know, to have the right mindset that that's possible as well. I'm really conscious of the way that I speak to them, and sometimes there are other influences in their life that are particularly not so great. So trying to talk them through things like that as well. And the business that I'm in helps that massively, because I'm constantly learning, and I can then help them to grow and learn as well. So I think you have to figure out how you can run your business to fit around your family. And if you can make, you know, obviously you've got to make time, and I have time like now. Baby Poppy's asleep, Izzy's in nursery, Harrison's in school. This is my focus time, I call it. But then, you know, I've got my phone, so if I've got the girls at home, I can do bits on my phone. I make sure my businesses fit in with that, and that's how it all works together. So it's great.
Fantastic. I think as a mum myself as well, you know, you'll probably agree with this, that children are a talking point as well. You know, it's an excuse to go out and, you know, speak to other groups of mums, and, you know, go to the toddler groups, and it's like a whole new network there as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It helps you to build relationships with people as well, because you've got that instant rapport. As soon as you start talking about children, and, you know, there's always some sort of common ground there, whether it's just like, oh, they're driving me mad, or, you know, or I always get into conversations with people who've got 3 children around a similar age to mine, especially because my 2 youngest are so close together. You know, and that's always a good talking point. Or, you know, how old are your children? And it will go through different stages and stuff, especially with toddlers and babies, or when they get older and they're teenagers. You know, there's that rapport, and you've got a conversation starter. So yeah, no, it's good.
They're actually an asset rather than a hindrance.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So is there any aspect of your business that, you know, you perhaps wish you hadn't have done, or didn't quite work out the way that you thought it would, and you perhaps labelled it as a bit of a mistake?
Yeah, totally. There's loads of things that happened throughout the last 3.5, well, I say the last 3.5 years, but probably the last 10 years. You know, BizMums didn't just happen overnight. I've tried so many different things to work, and even to this day, you know, trying different things. But I think you need to make mistakes to learn the way that your business works best. So when I first started, I put a lot of money into some print advertising, got nothing back from it. Spent lots of money on, you know, flyers and different things like that, thinking that that's the thing that you need, you know, 1,000 business cards when I first started. I've still got the same box of business cards that I've had for 3 years. So, you know, things like that. You think that when you start out, you've got to have this, and this, and like website things and whatever, but you don't know what you don't know. And so you have to try these things out to learn. And some can be costly mistakes in terms of money. Some can be costly mistakes in terms of time. But I'm pretty sure once I know these things, I won't do it again. If someone rings me up now and says, oh, you know, do you want to advertise in this publication? It's going to cost you 500 quid. I'm like, no, thanks. So you have to do these things to learn what doesn't work for you and for your business. So I'm a massive, massive believer in that everything's a lesson. Everything's sent to teach us something. So take that and learn from it. Some days I do think, what the hell is a lesson in this? But there we go. It all comes out a few months or years or whatever later. You work out, look back and think, oh yeah, that was why.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at a meeting at the weekend, and it was likened to, you know, sort of businesses in the past, and she said to me, oh, it's like dating. You know, if you go dating, you know, go speed dating, you're not going to fall in love with the first one that you see, the first one that you get involved with. You might be lucky, but it's okay if you don't. It's okay. You've learned something new, and, you know, move on. Yeah. So super excited to hear the answer to this one. What personal development books are you into at the moment? What's on your bedside table?
Well, actually, on my desk by my laptop, I have a few. I'm prepared. Okay, so this is the first one. So this is the Success Principles by Jack Canfield. You can probably see all the little things I've got in here, because this is like my Bible. I absolutely love this. I read it and read it and read it, go through, make notes, use it for reference, take cool quotes out of it. It's awesome. And it's got, you could read it each day, so it's got just little bite-sized things. So it talks about your why, which is one of my big things that I always talk to people about, believing in yourself, chunking it down, goal setting, asking for help, all about your mindset. It's a massive mindset, goal setting, personal development book, so that's a really good one. The Secret, which is, I'm sure lots of you heard about this, but I bought this one last week when Stacey and I went out for a little fun day out to celebrate our birthdays, and we went shopping afterwards, and we went into Stacey dragged me to a bookshop, which was never well. So I bought this, and I love The Secret, but I definitely believe that it's one of those things that you need to have ingrained in your brain. So you constantly need to immerse in it, because I often forget about, the law of attraction and how it works, and switching your thinking. And I'm really conscious of that at the moment. When you get into that negative self-talk, and I often do it when I'm walking home from school. It's completely quiet. It's just me and Poppy pushing the pram, and I start to get into this spiral of negative thinking, right, I'm coming home, I've got this to deal with, that to deal with, and this like worry, then the anxiety starts, and whatever, about it could be about personal stuff, work stuff, whatever. As soon as I catch myself going into that negative spiral, I start to switch my thinking. I start to think about, well, how grateful am I, how lucky am I that I've got these issues to have to deal with. That's amazing. I've got this business that's at this level that I've got to deal with this stuff. Or just think, how lucky am I that I'm able to walk home in this lovely, I wouldn't have said that this morning because it was chucking down rain, but how lucky am I to be walking home on this lovely day. If it was now, it's gorgeous. So just switch your thinking, and automatically that anxiety, that negativity starts to shift your focus. So this book is it's got just one page for every day. So you just read one day. So actually, shall I just quickly, what's today's? So we attract to ourselves what we hold inside. Every circumstance, every person, and every situation that we attract and experience is based on what is inside of us. Can you ask for a more magnificent system than this? Your life is a reflection of what you hold inside you, and what you hold inside you is always under your control. And that's really empowering as well, because you have the power to change it. And so every situation that you're in, if you blame and you give away your power, you are powerless to change anything about it. As soon as you blame somebody else, keep your power and you can make the changes. You've got that, and everything that you create, all the thoughts and everything that you're thinking right now is what's creating your future. So love that. And then finally, one which lots of the BizMums know I bang on about, is this one, Marie Kondo, I think that's how you say it, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying. So we do the Declutter Challenge. So we did it in July last year, and it was while I was doing the Declutter Challenge that I found out about this book. Totally revolutionised my thoughts on decluttering, on tidying. And this book is all about only having things in your life that bring you joy. So when you pick something up, so you think, when you're decluttering or tidying or whatever, or when you think about making a purchase. So this pen, now I'd pick this pen up and think, oh, this doesn't really bring me much joy, because look at it, it's just a cheapo blue and red pen. If it was purple, then it might do, because that's my favourite colour. But if I'm sorting through my pens when I'm trying to make a decision on whether I keep this pen in my life or not, no, I wouldn't, I'd chuck it. But whereas if I was to pick up this pen, which is nice and shiny, and it writes really nice, and it makes me feel good, and I want this pen in my life. So, but you do that with everything: clothing, books, kitchen stuff, toys, whatever it is that you've got in your life. You only keep things that bring you joy, and it makes things so much easier to make decisions about when you're keeping things. And a story I always tell was, I'm like a big hoarder, and that I suppose comes a little bit back from like my mum, and she's very sentimental and likes to keep everything, which is great. But I had so many things like cluttering at my house that weren't bringing me joy. They were just collecting dust. But I felt I had to keep them because someone had bought them for me. So, you know, when you get things for like your 21st or special birthdays and stuff like that. So I had this wine glass on my shelf in my kitchen that I had for my 30th. And it was lovely. It was like this glittery, quite tacky really, but lovely wine glass with 30 on it. Totally impractical. You couldn't use it. You couldn't wash it. It just sat there collecting dust. And I'd had this for like 4 or 5 years.
I was going to say, was really dusty.
Yeah, so it was really dusty, and every time I'd have to move it and all that. I thought, this isn't giving me joy. But I couldn't give it away because someone special had given it to me. But in the book, she says, things like this, sentimental stuff, the joy's already been had from that item. The joy was from the person who gave it to you. They got the joy. You had the joy when you received it. You don't need to keep it now. The joy has been done. It's gone. If it's just getting on your nerves, get rid. So it went to the charity shop. Ah, revelation. So I did in July last year, I skipped and charity shop loads. This time in January, I've done the same. Every Tuesday, every Monday would have charity shop day. So I'd take a load of stuff to charity shop. Every Tuesday, I'd skip day, went to the skip. I'm probably about 80% there now, maybe. Well, probably that's a bit generous actually, probably about 75% there. So when we do it in July again, I'll start again and just really sorting through. And it just, decluttering and tidying helps your clarity, helps, it reduces your workload. If you haven't got so much stuff lying around, you haven't got so much stuff to tidy up and clean and all the rest of it. So it's massive. So yeah, I really recommend that book as well.
That's really empowering as well, isn't it? Because, you know, your mood is lifted when you give something to charity, and so you get that feel-good factor from it as well. So, you know, you've got this two-pronged attack.
And going back to the law of attraction as well, when you're hanging on to stuff, it's that lack. You're in that lack mindset. So, you know, if you've got clothes that you don't fit in at the moment, you think, oh, when I lose a bit of weight, I'll wear them again or whatever. You're hanging on to them, and that's kind of telling your mind that you're fearful that you're not going to have enough to buy new clothes. Or if you're hoarding stuff, you know, you're bulk buying, you've got like 10 tins of beans in the cupboard, that type of thing. Again, it's that kind of negative lack mindset that you're in. Whereas if you're kind of putting out there to the universe, this might sound a bit kind of wow to some people, but you know, it really works. If you're putting out to the universe signs that you're fearful and that you're always focused on lack, that's what you'll get more of. So by giving stuff away and by being clear and thinking, no, it's fine. If I don't need 10 tubs of staples or whatever, I can get rid of some of them. If I need some more, I'll just get some more. You know, so it's massive.
Fab. And finally, what would you give as your top 3 tips for success in life and business?
Okay, so number 1 is to have a really clear why, your motivation. I always say this to all the biz mums, so they all know this, but it's like, you might be able to see I've got my little picture up there with what drives me, and a picture of, I need to update actually because they've got Tim and Harrison and Izzy on it, but and some little cards that when I got some flowers and they'd wrote on it and say, you know, we love you mummy and all the rest of it. And that's my motivation. My why is for them. When I started BizMums, that was my motivation, was to not go back to my job, and that's what drove me to do anything that it would take. I actually set up a second business while I was on maternity leave to ensure that I didn't have to go back to that job. It didn't matter, come hell or high water, I was not going back to that job because my why was that strong, my motivation. That's changed now because obviously I didn't go back to my job. I suppose I didn't put that into my story, did I? I didn't go back to work after my maternity leave. I hit my goal. So, and then I've been working.
Happy dance.
Like lovely Stacey's just done last week. Yeah, so I hit that goal. I didn't have to go back to my job, which is ace. So obviously then my motivation switched and my why has changed now. So now my why is because we want to buy a house. We still live in a rented house. So obviously working for yourself is a bit tricky, trying to get a mortgage. So I'm just working on that at the moment. So my why is to grow my businesses to a point where we can comfortably buy a house. And then when we've done that, my next big why is so that Tim can actually leave his job and he can do what he loves and he's passionate about full time as well. So that's my why. So it's know your why. Okay, so then the second thing is to have your success team, if you like, a community around you of women who get you, or men, if you're a man watching this. But for me, I have my success team, which I call them, which there's quite a few people involved in that, but they've all got their different role to play. So obviously Stacey's a massive role in that. We've got Becky as well, who's on the BizMums team, my lovely friend Sue, I've got my other friend Angela, and there's lots more other people who play their roles in that and help me, and who I can call upon, and having that support. But the wider BizMums community as well, I really struggled to find my place in life, if you like. It sounds a bit silly, but I never really felt like I fitted in with friends or with jobs or anything. I've always really kind of felt like the odd one out. In BizMums, though, I'm not. I'm amongst these positive, ambitious women who are working their businesses alongside their families and absolutely love me and what I stand for and want to be part of the community that I've created. Oh, that makes me feel a bit emotional when I say it like that. But that's it. That's what it is. And it's amazing. So find your tribe. Find the women that get you. When you're having a bad day, they're the ones that will pick you up. When things, and your family, your friends, they might not get what you're trying to achieve. Most of my family and friends, so I was bonkers. I was on maternity. Rather than sitting, drinking coffee, watching Jeremy Kyle, I was out networking, working all hours. But then, because I knew what I wanted to achieve, but the BizMums got that, and the BizMums get me now to this day. And my third top tip is to always write everything down. It might sound like a simple one, but we carry so much around in our heads when we're mums as it is. And I always talk to mums who are like, oh, I'm really stressed, I'm really overwhelmed, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in my business. Get clear. So write at least once a week, just grab a plain piece of paper and just write everything out of your head. Because the more stuff you're carrying around in your head, the harder it will be for your brain to compute what's going on. And when you've got baby brain like me anyway, and like Dory the fish kind of 10 memory, where you're like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Trying to carry all this stuff around in your head as well makes it even worse. So if you could just write it down, it helps you to get de-stressed as well, because you can plan then. So you can say, right, I know I need to do all this stuff, but when am I going to do it? And as soon as you put it into a time slot, you can forget about it, because that's fine. I'm going to get it done. It's going to get done on Tuesday, or I'm going to get it done. It's going to get done on Thursday, and that's fine. The more that you hold in your mind and you stress about, and then you'll get into this negative pattern, and you'll remember stuff when you're washing up and you can't do anything about it and things like that. So get it all down and out of your head.
Fantastic. Wow. Brain dump. I love it.
Yeah.
It's always good to do that at the start of the week as well, isn't it? Just kind of get it all out, right? What do I want to achieve?
Monday morning I tend to do one. So I've got a piece of paper here I done this morning. So yeah, just write down, right, what have I got to do this week, and plan it all out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom and top tips with us, and for sharing your story as well. There's lots in there that I didn't know, so that's really good. Thank you. Thank you everybody for watching. If you like what you've seen and you'd like to see more, then do subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Facebook as well, and you can subscribe to our page. You can also find us at www.bizmums.biz. And also in the comments section below, if you would like our success series whizzed to your inbox as soon as it's been done, and you'll be able to get our videos before anybody else, then subscribe to that with your email address and we'll whiz them straight to you. Thank you so much, and see you on our next edition. Bye.